Dear learners, I welcome you to another video session of the MOOC titled Rural Development in India. In this session, we shall discuss the Unit 9 of the module Approaches to Rural Development. The title of this unit is Target Group and Area-Based Approach to Rural Development. In this unit, we shall deliberate upon two important approaches to rural development, that is, target group approach and area-based approaches to rural development. So, rural development means improving the quality of life of people living in villages, not just more production but better lives. So, I'll first explain what is rural development, then we will go deep into target group approaches and area-based approaches with example. So, first let us discuss what is rural development. Rural development is a process which aims at improving the well-being and self-realization of the people living outside urban areas. In simple terms, rural development may be regarded as the scheme of development of rural areas. It may be defined as a process aimed at the well-being of the people, particularly those living in rural areas. The World Bank has defined rural development as a strategy to improve the economic and social life of a specific group of people, the rural people. So, rural development is a process of social, economic, and institutional change aimed at improving life in rural areas. It usually includes economic improvement, like increasing the farm and non-farm incomes, then expanding employment opportunities, providing credit technology and market, etc. Then under social development like education, health, nutrition, housing, drinking water, sanitation, reducing poverty, inequality, and social exclusion. Then under infrastructural development like roads, electricity, irrigation, storage, communication, schools, health centers, community halls, etc. Then human and institutional development like building skills and capacities of people, strengthening panchayats, then cooperatives, then self-help groups and other local institutions. Then encouraging people's participation and empowerment. So rural development is multidimensional. It is not just agriculture, not just poverty removal, but an integrated improvement in productive capacity, social well-being, and local institutions. So, why do we need specific approaches for this? The issue of a growing population, infrastructure development, and unemployment are major concerns of rural development. Rural development continues to be a high priority concern in both developed and developing countries. Inadequate development in rural areas can disrupt the nation's food supply and lead to destruction of natural resources. So, to address many issues that have affected the lives of rural people, several approaches were made to bring about rural development in India. So, these approaches are based on different ideologies like Gandhian ideology concerning rural reconstruction, then voluntary efforts, self-help group, cooperation, and village self-reliance like Gram Swaraj, etc. So it is very important to all of us to identify the major framework of major conceptual approaches related to rural development. So these may be classified as paternalistic approach, populist approach, technocratic, or radical approach. So first, the paternalistic approach had been adopted in many rural development efforts in the early decades of 20th century. The community development programs have accelerated rural development, keeping in mind this approach. The modus operandi of this approach is to induct a government functionary in the village who would act as a guide, friend, and philosopher of the villagers, required to familiarize them with modern and scientific ideas about agriculture and rural development. The community development program aimed at the holistic development of rural areas with the help of these approaches to rural development. Then the populist approach has become more prominent in recent times because of the emphasis on the Panchayati Raj and the programs of poverty alleviation. In this approach, the role of the government is to ensure local autonomy. In this approach, it is presumed that rural people are vitally interested in change and can transform their lives if they get an opportunity to do so, because rural community is the best judge of their needs. So in this approach, proposed patterns of development activities is designed from the bottom up. Then in technocratic approach, it aims to increase the output of agriculture with the use of technology. So it often ignores concern for institutional, distributional or environmental side effects. The period of 1960s and 1970s was the phase when technocratic approach had been used for promoting green revolution in India. This approach, however, focused predominantly on improving agricultural productivity but may fail to improve food security and reduce poverty. Then we come to the radical approach or activist approach. So the radical approach relies on the redistribution of wealth and income via land reform. The main objective behind this approach is to directly challenge the existing rural social order. So the radical approach aims to bring social change and redistribution of power and influence through which the most disadvantaged members of society stand to gain. So the understanding is that unequal power relationship based upon different access to assets are the root cause of poverty. Sometimes the proponents of this approach are motivated by socialist ideals. This approach was based on the experience of the first 2 decades of China. So based on this framework, the rural development approaches have been categorized as broad front approach, then sectoral approach, area-based approach, target group approach, and integrated or holistic approach. So now I will give you a brief idea about these approaches. So broad front approach, this approach envisaged attacking the rural problems on all major fronts simultaneously so as to bring about the desired changes in the living conditions of rural people. Following this approach, community development programs was launched in 1952. The community development program aimed at the holistic development of rural areas such as the development of agricultural and allied activities, then development of cottage and small scale industries, then promotion of cooperatives, provision of education, health and sanitation, then supply of safe drinking water, and creation of economic infrastructure by way of roads, electricity, irrigation, communication, etc. So the CTP is designed to improve the quality of life of the whole rural community with the active participation of the people. Now we will discuss the sectoral approach. This approach was based on the Livingston's critical minimum effort thesis, which calls for concerted efforts to push the growth rates in specific sectors of the economy. To put the agricultural economy on the path to rapid and sustainable development by making critical minimum effort to help raise production and productivity in the agricultural sector, a major engine of economic development. So besides agricultural sector, allied to agriculture like animal husbandry has an important role in supplementing the incomes of the rural people and improving the health and nutritional conditions. Then come to the area-based approach. So policymakers of the advent of the fourth five-year plan realized that earlier approaches to rural development resulted in increasing regional imbalances. It was emphasized that no single approach was suitable for areas with different socio-economic and physical characteristics in different parts of the country. So it was thought that area-specific approach could reduce the inter-regional disparities in growth and development. So by promoting all-around development of economically and socially backward areas. Hence, the government adopted this approach in fifth five-year plan, which envisaged adopting specific approaches to the development of backward areas such as hilly areas, deserted areas, drought-prone areas, etc. A few programs launched keeping in mind these approaches are Hill Area Development Program, then Tribal Area Development Program, then Drought-Prone Area Development Program, Desert Development Program, and Integrated Watershed Development Program. Now we will come to the target group approach. It was realized that though area approach programs have facilitated the development of specific areas, but a certain section of society, that is economically vulnerable group, small farmer and landless laborers, are not benefited as desired. So it was realized to formulate certain target specific programs to alleviate poverty and generate employment among the weaker sections. Keeping this in mind, Small Farmers Development Agency, Marginalized Farmers and Agricultural Laborers Development Agency, then Minimum Needs Program, National Rural Employment Program, Rural Landless Employment Guarantee Program, National Social Assistance Program, and other related programs were initiated. Now we will discuss the integrated approach. After the fifth five-year plan, it was felt to adopt an integrated approach to address twin problems of growing poverty and mounting unemployment in rural areas. It was revealed that an increase in the rate of growth of an economy alone cannot facilitate the fruits of development to trickle down to the poor who are at the lower rung of the socio-economic ladder. So following this approach, Integrated Rural Development Program was launched in 1978. The IRDP is a multi-level, multi-sector, multi-section program covering mutually supporting projects and activities concerned with different sections of rural communities. The major focus of this approach is on providing income-generating assets and self-employment opportunities to the rural poor, helping them rise above the poverty line and improve the quality of their lives. So let's look at the area-based approach and targeted approach in detail in this video lecture. So first we will discuss area-based approaches to rural development. An area-based approach means designing a program for a particular geographical area which has similar ecological condition, for example like drought, desert or hilly, then similar developmental problems, that is remoteness, poor infrastructure, etc. Then a clear boundary, suppose for example watershed or tribal block or hill district, etc. So the logic is, if the area itself is backward or ecologically fragile, we must first treat the area as a whole. Otherwise, individual projects will not succeed. So why this area-based approach were needed? Like different regions had very different natural resources like rainfall, soils, forest, water availability, etc. So certain regions were left behind with, like in the general growth process, causing regional imbalances. Problems like drought, desertification, soil erosion, deforestation could not be solved by isolated schemes. So they need area-based planning. Now we will discuss important area-based programs. You can remember them easily by linking each program with the main problem area, like drought-prone area program. So district frequently affected by drought and low rainfall comes under this scheme. The objective is to reduce the impact of drought on agriculture and livelihoods. Then stabilize production and incomes. Then watershed projects, water harvesting like tanks, check dams, soil conservation like contour bunds, terracing, etc. So all these things are done under those area. Then suppose desert development program. So the area comes under these are hot deserts like Rajasthan or maybe cold deserts like Ladakh. The objective is to control desertification, then improve the living condition of people and livestock. Then main activities are like stabilizing sand dunes, then planting trees and shrubs as shelter belts, then developing grazing lands, water harvesting and irrigation facilities, etc. Then under hill area development program, like area covers hill and mountain regions. The objective is to promote development while protecting fragile hill ecology. Then reduce outmigration. Main activities here are horticulture, terrace cultivation, plantation of crops, etc. Then road connectivity and rural services suited to hill areas. Then tribal area development programs. So area covers are regions with high concentration of scheduled tribes. Then objective is to reduce tribal poverty and isolation. Then protect them from exploitation. So activity comes under like land development, minor irrigation, forest-based livelihood, education, health, then housing, support for traditional skills and craft, etc. Then watershed development, integrated watershed management. So main area covers are watershed like where natural drainage basin. Then the objective is to conserve soil and water, then increase productivity of rain-fed areas. Main activity comes under check dams, farm ponds, then contour banding, then afforestation and posture development, community participation in planting and maintenance. So what is the strength of this area-based approach? Like ecologically, it is appropriate. They respect local environmental realities, rainfall, soils, slopes, forest, etc. It reduces regional imbalances, focuses resources on backward region. Then better planning base, like planning at watershed, block or region level allows more integrated project. Then the limitation of this approach are they may ignore internal inequalities within the area, like large farmers versus small farmers or landowners versus landless laborers. So benefits sometimes captured by local elite class, especially in the irrigation or land development works. Many programs were top-down with limited genuine participation of local people. Then environmental works sometimes lacked maintenance, leading to short-lived benefits. So planners realized as the planners identified focusing on the area is not enough. We also need to focus on which people within the area are most disadvantaged. This leads to target group approach. Now let us discuss the target group approach. A target group approach means designing programs specially for certain categories of people who are economically poor, socially marginalized or excluded, then unable to compete with stronger groups. Typical target group in rural India include small and marginal farmers, landless agricultural laborers, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, rural women, rural youth and unemployed, then artisans and traditional workers. So why target group approach were needed? Many benefits of earlier programs like Green Revolution went mainly to large and medium farmers. Landless laborers, marginal farmers, women, and scheduled caste, scheduled tribes are often remained outside the reach of credit, technology, and support services. So, rural poverty was concentrated in these groups. So, to reduce poverty, they had to be directly targeted. So, some of the examples of target group programs are small farmers development agencies. So, the target group is small farmers, a little land but not enough to live comfortably, and the support provided to them are credit for irrigation, wells, pumps, better seeds and fertilizers, then technical advice and extension services. And the goal is to raise their productivity so they can cross the poverty line. Then marginal farmers and agricultural laborers agency. So the target group is marginal farmers, very small landholding and landless laborers. And the support provided to them are support for non-farm or allied activities, dairy, poultry, goatery, petty trade, then training and credit. And the main goal is to provide alternative income sources beyond seasonal farm work. Then Integrated Rural Development Program, IRDP. So the target group is families below the poverty line in rural areas, and the support provided to them are subsidy and bank loans to buy assets like cow, goats, rickshaw, tools, shops, etc. So the main goal is to create self-employment by giving productive assets to poor household. Then training of rural youth for self-employment. So the target group is rural youth from poor families, and support provided to them are skill training, apprenticeship, tools, etc. And the goal is to make them self-employed or employable. Then spatial component plans like tribal sub-plans. So the target groups are SCs and STs, and the support provided to them are housing, education, health, assets, infrastructure, and in SC/ST dominant localities. Then women focused programs like target groups are rural women, often organized in self-help groups, and the support provided to them are microcredit, income generating activities, capacity building, literacy, etc. And the goal is to economic and social empowerment of women. So the features of this target group approach are like clear identification of beneficiaries, like whether they are below poverty line list, whether SC, ST, small or marginal farmers or women categories. Then use of subsidies and institutional credit to support poor households. Focus on asset creation like livestock, tools, irrigation, etc. rather than only providing relief fund. Then increasing emphasis on self-employment and skill development. Then often involves special agencies for or cells for implementation. Then what are the strengths of this target group approach? Like it directly focus on poor and marginalized instead of assuming that growth will trickle down. So ensures at least some minimum benefit reach the vulnerable groups. For example, a reserved budget, earmarked schemes for women, SC, ST, etc. So it makes it easier for minority who is benefiting from these schemes. Then what are the limitation of this approach? Like identification of problem, like inclusion errors. Non-poor get sometimes also gets the benefit. Then exclusion of errors, like many poor may left out. Then often individual oriented, like gives assets to individuals but does not change structural issues like unequal land distribution, low wages, low power structure, etc. Then lack of follow-up and support. Assets given without proper training, market or risk coverage may fail. So it can create social tensions if some groups think others are getting special treatment without understanding the reason. Then many schemes did not fully address gender inequality, like assets often given in the name of male head of the household, etc. So these are some of the problems of this target group approach. So we have come to the end of this video lecture. So in conclusion, I would like to say that rural development is a comprehensive and continuous process aimed at improving the economic conditions, social well-being, and institutional capacities of people living in rural areas. As discussed in this unit, rural development cannot be achieved through a single uniform strategy because rural areas are diverse in terms of ecological conditions, social structures, and level of economic backwardness. Therefore, different approaches have been adopted over time to address these varied challenges. So, area-based approach focuses on the holistic development of geographically defined regions that share common ecological and developmental problems such as drought, desertification, hilly terrain, or tribal concentration. By planning and implementing programs at the regional or watershed level, these approaches help reduce regional imbalances, then conserve natural resources and promote sustainable development. However, their effectiveness is sometimes limited by internal inequalities within the area and inequalities participation of the most disadvantaged groups. On the other hand, target group approach directly address poverty and social exclusion by focusing on specific vulnerable sections of the rural society, such as small and marginal farmers, landless laborers, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, women, and rural youth. So these approaches ensures that development benefits reach those who are often bypassed by general or area-focused programs. While they play a crucial role in poverty alleviation and social justice, challenges such as beneficiary identification, lack of follow-up support, and limited impact on structural inequalities remain. So, in practice, neither approach is sufficient on its own. Sustainable and inclusive rural development requires a balanced, integrated strategy that combines area-based planning with focused interventions for disadvantaged groups. Such an integrated approach can ensure efficient use of resources, equitable distribution of benefits, people's participation, and long-term improvement in the quality of rural life. Ultimately, the success of rural development depends on the aligning economic growth with social equity, environmental sustainability, and empowerment of rural communities. Thank you so much for joining this session. Thank you.